Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to talk about a lot of subjects. So it's one of those videos, some of you guys really like this, where I spend 1 or 2 minutes talking about different stocks. Today we've got 7 different stocks to talk about in today's video. And this Monday started off really early in the morning. I was kind of like, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about on today's video. And as the day went on, there was like more and more news stories coming out, and eventually went, okay, we went from a video where I had no idea what I was going to talk about, so now I have a lot of news stories to talk about, and it could be a long one. There's a lot of different stocks that we're going to be talking about today, including the one that just went up 470% today, which when I originally took the screenshot and I was deciding, do I mention it in today's video, which was going to be Webull, and that stock has just come through a SPAC and IPO'd. It is 309% up, and I took this screenshot, as you can see here, at 5 o'clock. In a matter of minutes, that stock has now gone up to, as you can see here, the title of the video, just had a little bit of a drop off, but not too. When I say little, I mean 5%. It's still up 645. Oh no, it's all over the place. 467% today, which is absolutely crazy. So we'll talk about that, and plenty of other stocks we'll talk about today. So yeah, stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of things going on here. Before we do, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you do want to see exclusive content from me, guys, join through the link in the description on the Patreon and do 2 exclusive videos a week. We're going to do 2 more this week on the Patreon, including a very special one for you guys. A lot of you guys have been joining that, a lot of new Patreon members, so thank you for all you guys that support the YouTube channel and also get the exclusive content. Just another quick reminder though, guys, I'm seeing so many people do it through their iPhone and the app. Please don't. It's not any benefit to me, it's just a benefit to you guys. Apple charge you an extra 30% if you do it through Apple on the iPhone. If you do it through the web browser, Apple don't take their cut, and it's 30% cheaper for you guys. So if you do want to do that, save yourself a little bit of money as well. And speaking of Webull, which obviously are having their IPO today and is up massive at the moment. If you do want to join Webull, they have just sent me another special promotion through, as you can see here. I'll make sure I post a link in the description and also the video comment. But if you do want to join through that link in the description and you make a deposit of £100, and you maintain it in your account for 30 days, you get 5 free fractional shares. And if you make a deposit of £2,000 and maintain it for 30 days, you get up to 20 free fractional shares, guys. So if you do want to take advantage of that and just go get yourself some free money and then have a little bit of play around with the Webull platform, because it's actually not too bad, to be honest with you, then obviously go give that a go, guys. It's free money for you there anyway. So first of all, let's talk about Webull. Webull, what a day. It came through on a SPAC. We're not seeing a SPAC for a while, I don't think. A 7.3 billion valuation. It's no longer 7.3 billion valuation with how much it's gone up, but 7.3 billion valuation, and yeah, a very successful one. I wonder if that is going to be a catalyst for other companies to kind of go, hey, that old SPAC route that we used to do quite often got a little bit less popular in the last few years, but can we see maybe a surge back up in the SPACs? Obviously, IPOs were more traditional in the way that a lot of companies used to come to the stock market. But the benefits of going through a SPAC is it's a lot quicker and it's a lot easier to get the cash for you. So we saw a lot of that during 2022. Some have done very well. Not a lot of them, majority of them haven't done well. But some have. You look at SoFi, performed very well. DraftKings, done very well. Hims and Hers, obviously very well. Now, if I was to say which one do you think did the best? Well, if you imagine, I'm sure some of you guys already know this because a lot of them IPO'd at $10, so it doesn't take too much of a genius to work out which one has done the best. But SoFi actually is only up 2%. DraftKings is up a whopping 243%, actually, to be fair. And Hims and Hers is actually 182% up. So who would have thought that DraftKings is actually the best performing SPAC out of all 3 of them on a share price point of view? But I got to say, SoFi, it shows you that you have to pay the right valuation for it. Cracking company, but it definitely was a little bit overvalued when it came on the market in 2020 at $10. Although I will say that, in my opinion, this is actually undervalued. DraftKings, obviously that's performed very well. And Hims and Hers, yeah, obviously maybe a little bit of a rich valuation for this one when it came on the market. So key that a lot of the times when these SPACs and IPOs happen, they do come at rich valuations. But I guess the key thing is that if they are good companies, then you can get sometimes pay bad valuation for it and still get away from it and still make money on it. And I guess that's the benefit of holding it in the long term. But as we know, maybe why the SPACs went a little bit unpopular during 2022, 2023 is a lot of them were awful. I think 80% of SPACs were not successful, and are now lower than where they came through on when they came onto the market. You might remember the likes of Desktop Metal, and that's down a fair bit. Clover Health, which I think a few people are actually pointing around as a little bit of a turnaround now, actually. Maybe they've kind of got their act together. And of course, Nikola. I think we've just seen Trevor Milton actually being pardoned actually from going to jail, I believe, by the current administration in the US. But yeah, Nikola's an absolute crazy one. I don't know, some of you guys might not actually be in the market when Nikola came through the SPAC, but they actually did. This is today's one of the most bonkers things I've ever seen in the stock market. They filmed, so they were trying to do a zero emission truck, and they showed a video of it like going down the road, and everybody was like, wow, look at that prototype going down the road, it looks absolutely amazing. And then what came out later on is it turned out that they had filmed the truck and they've pushed it down the hill, but obviously you don't see them pushing it down the hill, and then they just filmed it rolling down the hill, and eventually later on they admitted that they had pushed it down the hill, filmed it to make it look like it's driving by itself, and then shown it to an investor. Absolutely bonkers. Like, you can't believe that something like that happened in 2021. It's like something out of the 90s, isn't it? But trying to get away with something like that today. And then obviously issues around like the suing of the company, and obviously Trevor Milton probably, I'm sure it's Trevor Milton, was supposed to be going to jail, somehow got away with it, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, and then obviously our one and only Tattooed Chef, obviously that was another SPAC, and obviously that failed miserably, which, to be fair to it, I still to this day, I still look at the financials and I don't know how that company went from, well, I kind of do. It's a separate video, really. I'm not going to bother you with it all today, but it was actually doing okay. But it went all the way down to, bankruptcy. And to this day, I still don't know how it descended like that fast. It absolutely fell apart. I got a few ideas, but I can't believe how fast it did anyway. So I don't know. Let's see if what we start seeing is the SPAC returning. I wonder if any other companies are going to be looking at Webull success through a SPAC today and going, hold on, should we start going through the SPAC route again? We'll see what happens with that. Next one. So tariffs. We got the news out that tariffs on smartphones, and I think there was a couple of other items, were going to be exempt. Turns out I don't think they are going to be exempt now. They're just getting moved apparently to a different category or something. So the market started to rally again. Like, is this the patching up now between China and the US? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, maybe they're not patching up. You can see that in Apple shares today. I think they surged up and then they gave a lot of it back. I still don't get Apple stock personally. Like, I look at Apple stock and it's 32 times earnings, and I still look at the financials and, like in the next quarter, 3% revenue growth, this year 4% revenue growth. It's okay, but come on, it's not a 32 times earnings business. Like, the stock shouldn't be rallying up on this sort of news. I still think like this is incredible. Who's buying Apple? Incredibly overvalued. Like, to be valuing this on the levels of like Google, Apple's nowhere near the levels of Google. You like the likes of Microsoft, for example, it's nowhere near the likes of Microsoft or even Nvidia. It should be not valued in these sort of categories. For me, Apple is a company that is kind of, there's always, I should have probably preloaded this, but there's a chart out there which shows like a life cycle of a company. And eventually every company has the peak and it starts falling down. For me, I think Apple has peaked now. I think Apple as a business, unless there's a new product that changes the game from Apple, which I can't see at the moment, I believe they're on the ski slope down here for Apple. If somebody forced me to pick a Mag 7 stock to short, which I wouldn't short, but especially the Mag 7, but if I had to, Apple would be the one, because they've just, for the last 5-10 years, they've got no innovation inside the business. You look at Steve, imagine the difference that Apple would be in if Steve Jobs was there now. He would have ran the company totally different. They would have kept innovating and bringing new products out. What was the last successful business from Apple? Is it like the cloud? Yeah, they're milking the customers a little bit more from the iPhone. Maybe it's like maybe the AirPods or the watches. But I'm sure the watches was still a Steve Jobs idea. And I think the AirPods as well might have been a Steve Jobs idea. I'm not 100% sure on the AirPods one. But since then, I've not seen anything. Like, they've tried to do the Meta stuff. Hasn't been successful. Still not as good as Meta's glasses. They need something that's a bit of a game changer. Apple always brought a product out that made you go, whoa, did you see that? Even every so often, I like to go back. I don't know if any of you guys, it's a bit sad. I apologize. But any of you guys go and watch the first ever presentation that Steve Jobs did when he presented the iPhone for the first time. Even to this day, like that presentation is like 20 years old now, or getting near 20 years old. I used to watch it, and even now I go, wow, this iPhone's amazing. And then I realize, hold on, we've had this product for the last 20 years. But the way he's delivering it, and even like how simple, like you can see even on the presentation when he's doing a few things, like when he's playing music and how great it is, it's like, yeah, it just hasn't got that edge anymore. You look at some of the other companies they're competing with, like Amazon, like they've created Amazon Web Services in the last few years, absolutely amazing product. You look at the likes of Google, and they've been able to do they've got Waymo coming on, and they've got the likes of Google Cloud going on at the moment. All these companies, Microsoft, ChatGPT, making up these new products that are amazing. What have Google got? What have Apple got? Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, I don't know why that's going up 6% today, because I don't think that, if anything, like the fact that this still remains so close to its 52-week highs, like this is one of the, in my opinion, with all this tariff news that's going on at the moment, this is probably one that should have got sunk even more. Like, this should have been down like 30-40+%. It's absolutely crazy how this continues to hold up its valuation, but it is what it is. Next one. So I don't know if you've been keeping an eye at the moment, but we have been entering Q1 earnings season. I'm a little bit like with Q1 earnings season, I'm a bit 50-50 because I'm a little bit concerned. I'm going to hear nearly every single conference call about tariff questions, which is going to be very boring to listen to. So I hope it's not like that. I like JD Sports the other day when they did their earnings, and they went, we're not accepting any questions on tariff news because we don't know what's going to happen and things can change so quickly. I hope every company listens to JD Sports earnings and there you go from that point of view. But yeah, obviously we start to get the first few earnings. Obviously the banks always come first. We're getting the banks earnings. ASML's later this week. That's going to be really interesting because that's a company that's catching my eye at the moment. Netflix, I always like looking at Netflix's numbers. But we start getting some of the bank numbers. Don't know if you've seen, but basically Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs reported their earnings on Friday last week. All of them saying about stock market trading or stocks, the platforms are going mental. And if you remember, like between like January, February, March in Q1, like the stock market went ballistic, and those are the times where retail investors got absolutely bonkers and they're buying stuff and they're making so much money off it. And Morgan Stanley and Goldman have all both come out and said, like, yeah, we've done really well from that point of view. Maybe thinking, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing, I can't even spell Robin Hood. I'm really looking forward to seeing Robin Hood's numbers because I think they're going to be, like, when you think about who went ballistic buying these stocks in January, February, March, who always buys at the top of the market? It's always retail. Retail investors, unfortunately, buy at the top. They never buy at the bottom. They always buy at the top. And right now, I look at Robin Hood and they are someone that should, if Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs are coming out and saying like Q1's going to be mega, surely Robin Hood's going to have a mega Q1. This is for me, is going to be one of the big beats in Q1. I'm looking forward to seeing their earnings, even though I don't own the stock. I mean, at the moment, like they're currently forecasting like 47% revenue growth. Surely it's going to be bigger than that. It's got to be. Look at how crazy that stock market went in Q1. I think it, and you look at some of these stocks reporting how amazing it is for them. Surely they're going to beat on this. But the big thing with Robin Hood is that I don't know how the stock market is going to react to it, because obviously the stock market might react quite positive to it, but as we know, the stock market's future thinking, so it might move off guidance a little bit more, because at the same time the stock market's gone like this and absolutely sunk, and as we know, retail investors panic the most during that time frame. So when they look at guidance, they're going to be thinking, oh, by the way, we've seen a slowdown during Q2 because nobody wants to buy when the stock market's going down, even though that's the best time to buy it. So then if the guidance is weak, what will happen I think this is a fascinating one. This is going to be one of my most interesting ones to actually watch in this earnings season, because I don't know what's going to happen. Like I reckon the Q1 beat's going to be mega, but what's the outlook going to be? I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But obviously, you know, Webull today, a very kind of similar competition to Robinhood. As we see, that one is up 452%. Another one that reported today, Inmode up 2.6%. Sometimes you just can't predict what's going to happen in the short term in the market, can you? I would not have thought Inmode would be up 2% today, because if you look at Inmode, they just reported the preliminary earnings and they expect Q1 sales below estimates. Again, you can see here that they are expecting a range of 77.2 to 77.5 million in revenue, below the analyst expectations of 82 million. That's a far off where they should be. You know, it's okay saying that they're going to be ahead for the full year guidance, when it's okay saying in the full. It's so easy for companies to say, oh yeah, don't worry, by the end of the year, you know, we'll be okay, when they're struggling this much. You know, in the first part of the year. You know, this is sometimes where you can get a little bit stung. You know, I remember last year, like Inmode kept saying, "Don't worry, by the end of the year we'll start getting better. We'll start getting better." It's wait to the end, you know, H2, and then they get there, and then they don't deliver the numbers, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh well, that's not good." And then you kind of sat there on the share price, and you're like, "Well, the share price is down 31%." And you listen to the company, but then the share price actually reacts to the financials, and you're stung because you know, you believe the management team. But I just don't know how they haven't got the grip of the financials yet. Like, the thing is this here is on the if you look at 2024 Q1 a year ago numbers, they're easy comps. You know, Inmode was already doing slowdown in the last Q1 a year ago, and the fact that they can't beat the easy comps on the last Q1 is so concerning, and the fact that they still haven't got grips of guide at the moment is concerning. It's annoying because I like Inmode. You know, I like Inmode. I think he's a good company. You know, you look at the I think I've got it loaded up here. You look at the company, and you know, this company has great profit margins. I mean, look at that, 129 million. That's amazing. You know, the amount of, you know, share buybacks, dividends you can do in that time frame, fantastic. The only problem is that they haven't grown for the last few years, and if you don't grow, you know, what do you need to have a successful business in the stock market? You need to have profit and revenue growth. If you don't have profit or revenue growth, no one's going to buy your stock. No one wants to buy a company that's doing the same profit or revenue in the next few years if it's exactly the same. I had this chat with Matty on the Discord earlier today, and we had difference of opinion, because he was saying that when you look at the profit, it can still be successful with the amount of profit here. And I agree, like, it's not going to go bankrupt. The share price probably won't do anything, and if they keep buying back shares or doing dividend, they might get some form of reward, maybe like a little bit of return. But I don't, you know, none of us are investing for like a little bit of return. You know, in 3 years' time, if the profit revenue growth stays the same, you might be worth a little bit more because you've got that cash on the hand, that extra bit of cash on the hand. So you might be worth a little bit more, but it's not going to be a dramatic change. But the difference between having this amount of profitability, but you actually get to a little bit of growth, even if it's 2 or 3% growth a year, that's a game changer, because then you've got a growing company and you've got all this cash on the balance sheet. You know, to have a successful business, you've got to have growth in your profit and revenue growth. You've got to, because there's no way someone's going to go and say in 5 years' time, if you do the same profit and revenue growth, they're going to pay more for your business. But if you grow 2 or 3% a year, and you're also generating this profit, and then you're throwing that into the share buyback or dividend, game changer, absolute game changer. And that's why I like Inmode, and that's why I still hold it. And even though I'm frustrated because they keep not having control of the financials and they keep disappointing, ultimately they are still generating good amounts of revenue, they are generating good amounts of profitability, and all they need to do to have success is get to a little bit of growth. And I feel like they can get there. But they need to get to grips with these financials at the moment. And, you know, there is some catalyst there that will help them. You know, when you do look at the interest rates, for example, that will help them. So, yeah, another disappointing quarter, because I want to buy this stock, and I feel like if it just gets to some form of decent financials, you will blink, and I believe Inmode will. I mean, it's 6 times earnings. You only need a couple of percent growth, and I feel like this stock will double very quickly. But we need to get there, and it's just not happening at the moment, which is just crazy. Next one, I was on Twitter. I saw the patient investor post this tweet on, or is it a tweet on X anymore? Do you still call it a tweet? post. I saw this post on X from him, which he has a really good YouTube channel as well. So go check it out. I'm thinking of actually doing a list of like some really good YouTubers to go watch on the stock. Quite often I get asked like who are good stock market YouTubers to listen to. I'm thinking about putting a list together for you guys. I don't always get a lot of time nowadays to like listen to a lot of YouTubers because I'm just so busy at the moment between doing a full-time job, doing the YouTube, doing the Patreon, doing a couple of my own businesses, looking after a 4-week-old baby. It's full on at the moment, absolutely crazy. I can't even remember what sleep above like 6 hours is at the moment. But whenever I do get time, whether it's doing something like around the house, just AirPods in and listening to some videos, audio in the background. And he's probably one of the YouTube channels that I do like to listen to. So yeah, the point was, if you do want a good YouTuber to go listen to him. But I saw his post on X and he was talking about Novo and talking about how much the stock is down. And I actually didn't realize like the stock had continued to drop so much, because I think last time I like looked at the stock, it might have been right like February time, and by then the stock had already fallen like, I don't know, 40-50%. That was quite a significant drop. I didn't realize that the stock had then continued to go even lower, and the stock is now down 56%. Like the stock has now fallen back to levels it was at. Oh, we have to keep going. Oh my days. Okay, 2022. Like we're getting towards like 2.5-3 years of gains on the share price. To be fair, that was quite a stagnant period as well there in the share price. So you could even argue the case that you're going back to like February, March 2020. So yeah, you're over 3 years, which is absolutely crazy. 3 years of gains wiped out on this company. I think this is, to be honest with you, we do exclusive videos on the Patreon, and one of the exclusive videos that's up this week is something that we call the stock request. And this is where members of the Discord get to vote for me to take a look at a stock. And there's the current vote going on. All the stocks getting put in there on the Discord at the moment, and the one that gets the most vote we'll take a look at. I feel like this may be the one that wins the vote this week. So I might actually have a look at it on the weekend. But yeah, I can't believe how much it's fallen off. I don't like buying this sort of area because it's like pharma. I'm not very confident in that space. Quite often people ask me like, what don't I invest in? I always get like a lot of gold stocks, and I don't touch them. Mining stocks. Don't buy anything that's like affected by outside commodity prices. But Novo as well. Like I don't like touching pharma that much because of regulation. Sometimes like they're working on things for years, and then the results come out, and then they say, oh yeah, the results that came out are actually pretty poor, we're not going ahead with that. And you're like, you've been investing in this company for 3 years, and you're like, oh, when this thing happens, like that's going to be really good for the company. And 3 years later they scrap it, and you're like, oh my god. And then there's like regulation or something that comes out going, oh, that drug that we've been doing for like the last few years, oh, I'm just gonna have to, oh, that product that we've been working on for like the last 3 years, yeah, that actually turned out there's a few problems with it, we probably shouldn't have been doing it, and then there's a big case against you. The other thing is like working out the pipeline of things that are coming out for them. So I don't really like touching the farm space that much for it, but there's got to be a point, where I look at this and go, actually, you know what, it's probably worth maybe investing into it. Obviously, they've got the GLP-1 going on at the moment, and right now it's like 15 forward times earnings. You look at this company here, and you look at the, I think they've got a pretty good financial health. Yeah, it's not too bad. They may jump up in the debt there, but you look at the past performance. If you want to buy a company, probably one of the companies that you're going to consider, isn't it? I mean, look at that. Great track record of revenue growth, profit growth, great profit margins. Yeah, I've got to have a good think on this one, I think. One stock that's not getting any bounce up at the moment is Warpaint. This stock continues to go down, and even with the tariff news, down 43% now. Bit annoying because I've also got this in the eToro portfolio, and for some reason eToro have suspended you for buying the stock on the platform, which is really annoying because I'd really like to buy it, but it is what it is at the moment. But right now this is down at 13 forward times earnings. This is one that really interests me at the moment, to be fair. And you look at the financial performance. Let me just load this up on Simple Wall Street. By the way, guys, if you do enjoy Simple Wall Street, there's a link in the description. I think you get 30% off. You get a 14-day free trial. And then you get a 30% off, I think, on the when you join through the description. But yeah, I mean, look at these guys' track record. Absolutely fantastic revenue growth, as you see here. Absolutely fantastic profit margins. Absolute cracking balance sheet as well on there. So yeah, this is one that I'm thinking. I've not really been touching Warpaint that much. I bought it a few times, But maybe it's at the point now where I've got to, it's this low here. Yeah, I've got to really think about now if I start getting a little bit more aggressive on that Warpaint position. So yeah. Last one I wanted to point out is B&M. Obviously having a pretty decent bounce here, hit the low around the 4th of March. Since that time frame, had a bit of a rally up 17%. And, could it be the bottom? We will see. We'll see what happens, but it's been good to see it bounce up. I didn't think it would happen so soon, but I am about break even on the position, which is good from where I'm at right now. They are, as far as I'm going to aware, is tomorrow they are going to do their closing trading update for the 52 weeks. Probably give a bit of outlook in there, maybe some news on the CEO. So a bit of an update there tomorrow, so it should move off that as well. I don't know why they didn't post anything on the financial calendar on the website, so B&M, up your game there. But obviously, there's probably going to be some news that comes out tomorrow about this one, so I won't talk about it too much, but it just made me laugh because there's 2 points I want to make about this one, actually, to be fair. So the first one is, like, it shows you, like, you don't really need to get the bottom of the stock. Sure, I bought the stock and, it went down a little bit lower from where I bought, but I thought I was buying at attractive levels because it went a little bit lower. I was able to average down, and if this is the bottom from the stock now and it keeps going up, we make money from here. If it keeps going up, what will happen with B&M is that every time it goes up, probably like 10%, I'm probably just going to sell like 10% of my position each time. That's my plan with B&M going forward if it does start going up from here. But you never know, like tomorrow it might go down again. But it wasn't... The last few weeks have been actually really interesting for me because as like an investor, what I've kind of seen here is that when, obviously when I do these videos on YouTube, and the stocks are going up, everyone is a lot more positive, but also it makes me like everyone goes, I'm at, the amount of times that Hims and Hairs go up, I go, oh, I'm up on Hims and Hairs. What a brilliant idea from me. I found that one, not Jacob. Oh, DraftKings, what a great stock from me. It went up. And I remember, like, the last few weeks, like, out of nowhere, like, even, like, things on the YouTube, like, the amount of comments I've had that have been negative comments in, like, the last 4 weeks, I've had loads, like, a lot of negative comments, and they've all kind of come out from nowhere. Well, they haven't come out from nowhere. I know where they come from. It's because the stock market's gone down. And it amazes me, like, still to this day, like, as soon as that stock market flips, how then as soon as the market goes down and some of the stocks go down, like, you get the blame for it. I had the comment the other week about B&M and like, oh, are you going to apologise to the people who watch the video when you've been buying B&M and it's been going down? And now, like, we're obviously, very quickly, you can, that's why you don't judge a stock in the short term. But we are, back break even on it. But it just, the last few weeks have amazed me a little bit, like how fast to see, like, people are willing to, quickly throw you under the bus when something goes wrong. It's a bit different because obviously, like, in 2022, I went through like a year and a half where, like, nearly every comment on the YouTube channel was like negative, and then within when we get back into 2023 and 2024 and stocks start going back up again and all the stocks I talked about went up massively, it made me laugh because the amount of people that were in the same comment section that were like giving me stick, and then they were like, oh, have you seen so and so stock gone up? And then I saw the names that used to give me stick, and then they would join the Patreon, and then like comments that used to like all the time were bashing, and suddenly like they disappeared. Like, for example, Andy Pickering used to like come on every video bashing and saying, like, laughing about Hims and Hairs being $3 and saying it's uninvestable, and then obviously it'd gone to be a 10 bagger, and then we've not heard from him for like the last year. It's absolutely crazy. But it made me laugh, like all these comments that came out of the woodwork all of a sudden, and then they've gone a little bit more quiet this week. But yeah, it's great. Like, it just once again made me realise in this game, like, as soon as everything's going really well, like, people like are very keen to take their ideas, and then as soon as something goes wrong, it's very quickly blaming you. But I'm totally handling the situation a little bit different from 2022, because in 2022, like, I enjoyed it. It motivated me to like make sure I was doing so much research into these stocks to make sure they would actually perform very well. Now I'm like, I just can't be arsed with it. So anyone that's absolutely ridiculous, I didn't used to do it, but I just block people now because I think I'm not having it, because within 12, whenever the market starts rolling again, you'll all be joining the Patreon and being like, oh, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing. I'm actually going to pay for all the exclusive videos as well now, and make sure I know all the stock picks when I'm buying them myself. So it did make me laugh the last few days, seeing like a few people coming out and like saying about this one, and then all of a sudden, we're back break even. But anyway, we'll see what happens. There's not much to say at the moment because it's only break even. But I'm sure one day B&M will be back up to, the £4 or £5 range, and I bet people saying, oh, I wish I bought this one, or there's comments that were negative about it will all of a sudden be like deleted. So it is what it is. Stay for the long game. Anyway, this was a long one. I thought it would be a long one with 7 stocks to talk about, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. There's a few ideas I've got in my head, but we'll see which one I do anyway. Thanks for watching anyway. Have a great rest of your Monday. See you in a bit.